to compound on how rough it's been on A's fans, losing Ricky Henderson right before Christmas.
In our generation, the most dangerous player to go against in a close game. And here's the point that I'm glad I had the chance to make public.
Well, it's great to have you here. And as you can see, we have a Hall of Famer joining us today. Tony LaRussa, thank you so much for coming on by the Damon Bruce Show, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches. It is wonderful to see you. I'd love to talk a little bit of baseball with you, but we have to start with this wonderful event that you've got coming up here next week in the Bay Area, LaRussa Rescue Champions. You have dedicated your life to baseball and animal rescue, and it looks like this is a wonderful event that you've got planned coming up on January 25th over in Walnut Creek.
Well, thank you, Damon. It's actually my wife and I, Elaine, we celebrate our 50th year before last. So with Elaine and our daughters, the one most consistent thing is this passion for companion animals, what they can do if you bring them into a home. They become part of your family. And then we also worked, that unconditional love really works with people that have issues. Could be, you're away from your family. If you're a senior, you could be in the hospital. So we're starting this new nonprofit and drawing attention to it as a show. And we are very fortunate that the concept is so pure that we get this. We're not paying a dime to anybody, but if you talk about music, you got Adam Dirks is going to acoustic set with stuff from his Counting Crows. People are surprised, but because they're seeing him on Landman. But Billy Bob Thornton loves baseball, music, and acting. So the Box Masters, instead of the Box Masters, we have an all-star band of guys. We can talk about it, from all the great bands in this area. And then we have another one. We have a military segment where Scotty Hastings, who was shot 10 times in Afghanistan, during his rehab, he taught himself the guitar. He started writing country songs, and now he's been very successful. His latest one is on Dolly Parton's new album. So with that, the one that we're getting a lot of positive conversations about it. We're having an all-star, all Hall of Fame A's panel. Unfortunately, Ricky, who was scheduled to appear, we're all still stunned and sad. We're going to do a tribute to him. But we have Hosey, Canseco, Stu, and Eck. And in fact, Billy Bob closes the first half. We do the second half. He's going to be on the stage because he loves to talk about it. I'll give you something that you might enjoy. He was a pitcher at one time. And I got to know him with the Cardinal, a big Cardinal fan. And he kept talking about his slider. So we had our guys during that time, whether Carp or any of those guys, we used to get on him that he had one of those backup sliders that was just, when you made a pitch, it was just yelling, hit me. And he'd laugh. So I told him, you got Eck and you got Stu. We're going to improve your slider. But we're going to do a real good job. MLB has given us some nice video. Local Michael Zagaris, who's a great photographer, he's given us some special pictures. That's going to be on the stage, where we're going to actually draw seats that they can have. They have 8 different pictures. It's going to be a really nice night, and it's all going to benefit this new rescue.
It sounds fantastic. I even saw you got Carl Perazzo involved, one of the great percussionists in the history of music. He's played with Santana. He's played with Fish. He's a true legend. I've seen that guy live a couple of times. So if he's keeping the beat, the whole night's going to go very, very well for you. I know that, Tony. Again, it's on January 25th, 7 o'clock in Walnut Creek. We will have a link in the description of this video to go ahead and buy tickets and make a donation again to LaRussa Rescue Champions. And I would just imagine, the pairing people with rescued animals is a year-round endeavor. But then when something unfolds like is happening down in Los Angeles, your urgency to come to action, to raise funds, to help these charities has to feel like it's put in overdrive right now.
Well, it usually happens, Damon, you talk about the fires. Back in Florida, North Carolina, you have hurricanes, right? But then you have this urgency with families that are being disrupted. What do they do with their animals? So what you end up doing quite often is you take nonprofits and they will travel. They'll create some space at the shelter by bringing animals out. That's what's happening in the LA area. Animals are coming either way south to San Diego or they're coming way north. But you all work together because for a family, you've got 2 kids, that dog or cat that's been with you for 5 or 10 years, they're just as much a family, and you worry as much about them. So you work together. Part of the reason we do it, part of the reason we've had a lot of success is that the cause is so pure. That unconditional love is there. They're never going to break your heart. So we as adults and human beings, if we do a good job of protecting them and circulating them, then you can't miss. And that's why people get ask me all the time. We get a lot of support from sports or entertainment. We don't pay anybody, and nobody at this event's going to get paid. It's because the cause is so pure that they want to support it.
Well, it's great. Again, you give voice to the voiceless. Animals can't speak for themselves. You and your wife with LaRussa Rescue Champions are becoming a major fundraising arm for Animal Connections. Is that what the goal of this is?
Well, actually, it's exactly it, man. Thank you for that. There isn't one dime that gets raised that isn't going to go back to the cause. And you can take, a small grassroots organization that is just getting started and needs some help. We actually are going to make a major announcement for an example of what this new nonprofit can do just after the intermission, before the A's panel. We've had a wonderful sponsors coming forward, and you'll see that we're reaching out, and sometimes you help the people that need the animals. Sometimes the organization is putting it together. We're gonna distribute money around not just the community, but we're going to be, as we have been doing lately, nationally, we'll be spreading the wealth.
It's a wonderful cause. Again, my wife and I have been the beneficiaries of animal rescue. Unfortunately, our pity mix, Rex, is no longer with us. We lost him a couple Thanksgivings ago, but I love that dog. And, it's funny how bully breeds, or would have classically been known as bully breeds, are going through a new PR campaign. It feels like the prejudices we used to have against certain animals are falling to the wayside when people realize that some of these maybe scarier or more intimidating dogs are the biggest lapdog schmoopy dogs you'll ever meet in your life.
Well, I'll tell you what, brother, you got it figured, and it all happens to do how they were raised, all the imprinting. If you raise the pit, in fact, a lot of times with veterans, pits are sometimes tough to adopt because they've got this reputation. People are afraid. A lot of times the veteran, somebody's really hurting, sees a pit who's of all that it could be rescued, adopted, and they gravitate to them. So it's like win-win. You have a tough dog that to adopt, and you got a veteran, and that connection they make, man, is a testimonial, bring tears to your eyes. So you're right to bring up that about it's how you raise them. They're wonderful pets, and there is no bad pet. I didn't say Brad Pitt. I said no bad pet.
It's they're like rookies. It's very important to raise them the right way from day one. Maybe a part of the evening could be providing every single card-carrying A's fan there an emotional support animal. What A's fans have been through here in the Bay Area, and Tony, I know I don't need to tell you, it's just been like a decade of psychological abuse. It's been so rough. And then to compound on how rough it's been on A's fans, losing Ricky Henderson right before Christmas was just, that was just almost too overwhelming for A's fans here in the Bay Area. What was it like to be the manager of one of the single greatest baseball players and personalities of all time? Was it easy to manage a guy like Henderson, or was it difficult because you had to keep challenging a guy who met every challenge you gave him?
I'll give you a couple 3 points. I don't talk much about my playing career because it's not good, but I was on the Oakland A's in 1968. So I have a long history with that organization. A lot of the teammates from the 72, 3-4 I played minor league ball with. Loved the A's forever. So it's, this is not a happy moment. Times change, but the thing that I like to talk about with Ricky, for 10 years, when I was the young manager of the White Sox and then with the A's traded him to New York. For 10 years, managed against him. In our generation, the most dangerous player to go against in a close game. Nobody, a lot of great players, but nobody could beat you in so many different ways. And here's the point that I'm glad I had the chance to make public. Somehow, the press was never, I thought, very fair with him. You know, he was a marked man. If they lost, it was Ricky's fault. He is tied for first with the most beloved teammates in all my 30 years, White Sox, Cardinals, A's. He's tied for first with the best teammate we've ever had. There was nothing superstar when he walked in that clubhouse, back of the bus, on the airplanes. If there was fun and laughter, Ricky was there. Very down to earth. He was a beloved teammate. So what happens is for about 3 or 4 days, and the word got out, man, we all spent most of the time talking to each other, just stunned because we had just seen him a couple of weeks ago. He's the healthiest guy on the field. And what the other thing that we share a lot, and it's so sad, we're going to have our moments on Friday the 25th. From that great club, you know, 88, 89, 90, we lost Bob Welch, Tony Phillips, Dave Henderson, Ricky, even Dave Parker's having a tough. I mean, these are some of not just great players, great personalities right in the middle of all the fun. And that's why I like to repeat, don't believe any of that stuff about Ricky. Really a great teammate. And by the way, his longevity, he was a marked man by every team on the other side. Stop Ricky, stop Ricky. And that sometimes they try to intimidate him. That's why I used it one time and somebody said, you can't scare him and you can't stop him. So
you put him on first base. He was the most dangerous baseball player of all time. Nobody could do more damage from first base than that man. He was unbelievable. He really was. In baseball, lost a legend. Could you imagine the kind of checks they would have cut Ricky Henderson now if he'd been in his prime?
Break the bank.
You know, you talk about losing a generation of beloved players. Just this morning, Tony,
Yes,
baseball lost Bob Uecker, one of the true princes of the game, one of the voices of the game, one of the clown princes of the game. And it just shows you the greatness of baseball, that a player can become a personality that can become so beloved. He is an icon in a franchise where I think he was a $180 hitter. Baseball's a beautiful sport, and Bob Uecker was a beautiful personality.
Well, it's like Ricky. Ricky's one of a kind. Bob Uecker, one of a kind. I had the great pleasure of being out with him, and his sense of humor. You know, he just, what's the word when you run yourself down to make the point? Nobody like him. And
self-deprecating. Self-deprecating. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So it's been like an epidemic, all those years with the Cardinals. In the last 4 or 5 years, Musial, Shane Dees, Bob Gibson, Lou Brock. I mean, there's, it's, I guess we're getting older, but you never accept it. And my point is, because when we talked during Ricky's time, we all agreed that once you miss them, you should remind yourself that today, look around, don't take anything for granted about a relationship. And if you have a special moment with teammates or family, never take anything for granted. Enjoy the moment.
Hand everyone the flowers while they can still smell them. That's a great idea. It's great advice. It's a great way to live. And it was awesome to have you on here today, Tony. I wish you the very best of luck with your event. It sounds like you've put together a remarkable night full of baseball and music and laughter and joy and animals, and that checks all the happiness boxes in my life. So it was a real pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so very much. Good luck with everything. We want to remind everyone there is a link to tickets in the description of this video. So go ahead and click on that and support a wonderful cause, LaRussa Rescue Champions. Now, Tony, if you could just do me a favor, can we get the DH out of the National League, and can we get the ghost runner off of second base for extra innings, for goodness sakes?
Well, I had 16 years of each, American League, National League. And by far, if you're a true lover of the game was, you had little ball, big ball, everything happened in the National League.
Yeah.
More opportunities to second guess the manager. The only thing that is a plus for it, when you have a pitcher running the bases and going to bat, as rare as it is to have a legitimate pitcher, sometimes they got hurt and you regret it. But overall, and the other thing, like I always tell our guy, if you don't like it, do something else for a living. And I'll take it because you get fortunate to be part of it. But Damon, this thing works because you got the word out, man. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you very, very much, Tony. Have a great year.
So I'll see you somewhere.
Thanks for watching. Tune into the Damon Bruce Show live on YouTube every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.